Good afternoon, everybody. I'm your host, Crystal, and this is another edition of the 9 o'clock Meltdown podcast. And over speakerphone, I have Tiffany, but you all may know her as Fit Tiff. She's been rocking the internet, YouTube, Instagram, Pinterest is where I first saw you, and she is a workout guru and weightlifting instructor. Hello.
Hi, Crystal. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here and be able to speak with you today.
Yes, of course. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day. I know you're busy.
Absolutely. We all are, right? That's always a good sign. Life is good when we're busy and we have lots to do.
Right. Very true. Tiffany, like I said, I first discovered you actually on Pinterest. You had launched a couple quick little hard-hitting videos on just weightlifting for women, and I just automatically gravitated towards them just because they were so real and down to earth. You're out on your porch and you're just, this is how you properly lift some dumbbells, and then you launch into the next exercise. Fit Tiff definitely fits you very well. You're very fit. You're almost like Thor Ragnarok level fit.
Oh, gosh. Well, you are very, very kind. And it's really funny. Fit Tiff was not something that I made up. Fit Tiff happened to be a nickname that one of my managers gave me years back. And the irony of it all is that I wasn't even fit at that time. I wasn't at all working out. It was probably like a year or two before I had started my workout journey. And when I was thinking about, transitioning into sharing on the internet, Fit Tiff immediately popped into my head as just like the perfect name to put out there for myself.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Tiffany, let's launch into it. You had mentioned that you weren't exercising at all. You didn't have any kind of goals, it sounds like, kind of set for yourself. What was the turning point for you?
Oh, gosh. So I think the true catalyst for me and my fitness journey was a few different things. I think the first thing that really started to push me to better understand myself and better to be able to manage my own life and my own self was my son. Once I had my son, I looked at that adorable little face, and not only just for him, but for me, I knew I needed to figure out how to step into being my best self. Mm-hmm. So that kind of was the catalyst, but then, I would say it was probably very late in 2018 at the age of about 34, I think I was, 35, mm-hmm. I was diagnosed with ADHD. I tried to go the route of non-medicating myself just because for 34 years of my life, I was unmedicated, and that is what I knew and what I knew how to manage. Mm-hmm. So the first thing and the most prevalent thing that I found to help to manage my symptoms and my ADHD was working out. So I immediately started adding that to my regimen and fell in love, probably my very first workout.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and I can attest to working out as well. I've done a couple different workout things throughout my life. One is aerial yoga, the cardio side of it, and yeah, I mean, you feel 10 times better afterwards. And I know a number of my friends will swear by Zumba as well. I've tried a couple classes off and on. I am not one to work out in front of other people.
I hear you on that is for sure.
But, people swear by it. You feel so much better, and it definitely, it gets the endorphins going and things like that, which is absolutely wonderful. So that's wonderful to hear that you found almost a more natural way to kind of elevate yourself and make yourself feel better and have a clarity of mind as well.
Absolutely.
I can completely attest to having ADHD. I was just diagnosed actually last year. And
oh, wow. Yeah.
Honestly, it explains a lot in my life, because I'll go from one thing to the next, and I don't really take that time in between to either really learn what's going on or, take that time to, let's say, actually learn guitar. I've played off and on since I was 16, and Yep.
Exactly. And I heard it once, and I hope I don't get this wrong because it was quite powerful for me. It said that ADHD wasn't like necessarily something that affected, it was more about you know everything that you need to do. It's more of like a processing thing where you have a hard time taking the skills that you have and actually putting it into things. So your guitar really reminded me of that. It's like we know that we can do these things, we know what we need to do, but sometimes our brains are just different and they just don't want to.
Right. Oh my gosh.
Well, congratulations on your diagnosis, because I know for me, like I feel like I started life when I realized what was happening and what was going on with me, and I hope the same for you. And I hope that you experience all of the amazing things of knowing yourself better now as a result of that diagnosis.
No, you're preaching to the choir there, Tiffany. I can completely attest to that, and I know others that can. Completely hats off to them, for finally getting diagnosed and things like that. And I think we also need to open the dialogue about mental health and that these things are not hindrances. Like when I was growing up, like bipolar disorder and things like that, they were viewed almost societally as hindrances, and they're not. They're just something that you need to kind of overcome, and you need to understand your own path and how things kind of weave and bob in your own mind.
Absolutely. I always say ADHD is my superpower, and without it, I wouldn't be able to manage half of the things that I do on a daily basis.
All right. Excellent. I love it. But I digress a little bit. Let's jump back into it. So, Tiffany, you said that you weren't going to put anything up online kind of in the beginning, and you're having your son and kind of having that young energy around kind of launched you into wanting to be more fitness orientated and things like that. How was the beginning journey for you? Because I know a lot of people, they look at the end results. They'll look at the movie stars, not to mention Thor again, Chris Hemsworth, but he's the one that comes to mind. Like, they look at what he's got going on at the end result, but they're not seeing the massive amount of work that it takes to get there. So how was the beginning stages for you? I know throughout my life I've heard people, I'm going to start walking every day, and they'll maybe do it for a week, and then, it's too cold out, or, that's too difficult, or, what have you. But were there any barriers in the beginning for you, or was it something that you just had to set your mind to in order to kind of get those results?
Yeah, great question, because you are so right when you say that everybody is focused on the results. And the results will come. The journey is so much more important than the results at the end of the day. And for me, my journey started in just such a great way. So I had one set of 8-pound dumbbells. They were the neoprene ones. One is pink and one is blue. I still have them. They're different dumbbells, but they're the same weight, and they were neoprene. And I was like, this is where I'm going to start. I moved into the home that I live in once I had met my son's father. It was his home, and there is a finished basement in this home. However, the basement was like just a mess. He is a person that doesn't really necessarily like to throw things away, so things really, really piled up. I literally just curved out this little corner in the basement, just enough space for me to put my arms out to the side, up, kind of jump around, do some burpees, and I just went down there with those 2 single dumbbells, and I just kept trying things. I would just keep trying and researching, and throughout time, I felt very fortunate because I felt this was something that I very quickly and easily connected with. It really felt just very natural to me. So I did lots of research. I worked out every day. I write down what I did. I tracked everything. And I just really just started to figure out what worked best for me. And then from there, I was like, okay, it's time to go get professionally trained. So I did go and get my NASM personal training certificate. So sorry, almost lost all those words.
Oh, no, you're fine.
And then that kind of really helped to teach me and move me forward in attach to everything as well.
Wonderful. Tiffany, it kind of sounds like you really set a goal for yourself and just rocket launched yourself into it. Now, are you doing the fitness training full time, or is this kind of something that you do when you can?
Oh gosh, so that's a really interesting question. My life, to be quite honest, I have not put anything out there on social media as of yet, is going through some really big changes and shifts. To be quite honest, what I'm doing now is I'm full-time in content creation. I also right now I'm helping like 2 to 3 friends that are personal friends of mine. I just go to the gym with them. I give them workouts. I help them with form. I have a person or two that comes to my house on occasion. I have my neighbor who I take to the grocery store and help with meal plans. And then I have probably about 10 women that I'm emailing with right now. So all of that is always happening in my world. And I'm basically, just using YouTube and Pinterest to kind of get my name out there to hopefully be able to build the brand to something that can really help to support myself and my son in the future.
All right, excellent. Tiffany, you definitely have a great platform, and like I said in the beginning, your workouts are so down to earth, and even your body itself, it's not, this, I don't want to use the word catastrophic, but in some terms you have to. It's not this catastrophic, giant, bulky mass. You can tell that you work out and you take fitness as a goal in life, but you're not using steroids and things like that. I think that's another thing that society gets kind of hooked up on. They get hooked up on the bulk and the definition and having, giant, almost unattainable muscles. But Arnold Schwarzenegger said it best, that bodybuilding now is not what it used to be. It's not what it was when he was in it. It's all about the steroids and how bulky and massive you can get. And that goes for men and women as well. I've been doing a little bit of research here and there about it. And yeah, steroids are definitely a really big thing. But to get back to my point, ADHD takes a front seat for a moment.
But hey, you're with one of your kind, so I'm following right along with you. We're good.
Excellent. But what I'm getting at is, I follow a number of other people online, and, some of these women are they're built differently than I am. And I have to get that through my head. But they've got, these hulking muscles. And at the end of the day, it's kind of like, well, why don't I look like that? I work out. I'm doing the same things they are. And whether or not they're using steroids, I'm not saying one way or the other. But they're not necessarily down to earth like you are.
Thank you. That means a real lot to me.
That's what I'm getting at. We're trying to get at. And I've read over and over again, which brings me to another point too, that you have to set realistic goals for yourself. And,
absolutely.
And what are those realistic goals? Well, if you want to eat a cheeseburger and work out, that's fine. Nothing says that you have to eat salad for the rest of your life.
Exactly, yes.
And I think that's another thing that people kind of get hooked up on, is they're looking at the fact that a healthy lifestyle means you have to eat rabbit food for the rest of your life and work out 8 hours a day. No, that's not it at all. Do you ever run into that with some of your clientele?
All of the time. And, so one of my favorite sayings is one's perception is their own reality. And boy, is that true. Like, the more people you meet, the more people you come in contact with. I mean, it's just, there's no denying it. People own life experiences changes the way they think, see, and feel things. So I always keep that in the forefront of my mind. I have a really good example for this. So whatever somebody deems to be the way that, like if they look at me and they say, okay, she must be eating this, she must be working out 2 times a day, she must be doing this, this, and this. So then in their minds, that's the only way to get to that goal, when in reality, it's only about self-discipline, consistency, balance, and finding your joy. Because if you have all of those things meshed together in the pot of soup, you're going to be able to maintain that lifestyle and you're going to create a new lifestyle. If you're missing one of those elements, you're not enjoying your workouts, you're not going to get to your workouts. If your diet's not on point, you're not going to be able to transform your body in the way that you may be looking to without that diet that is a little bit more looked at, but not overly strict where you're counting every calorie, every carb, every gram of fat. It's one of those things that I think I know personally before, when I was on the other side of my fitness journey, I would look at these women and be like, oh my gosh, how do they have these physiques? How did they do that? This is not possible for me. And that was like one of those determining factors for me. I'm very much an introvert. I very much am. I do not like attention. I do not like to be the spotlight. However, for me, it was such a burning desire to try to help other people and show them that it's so much more simpler than we think that it is to be healthy, to get in shape, and to maintain it. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of like the thing that forced me to push myself to get so uncomfortable with putting myself out there on social media, because I want to show everybody that it's not hard and it's totally, totally, totally achievable for anybody. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter who you are. Mm-hmm. You can achieve your goals. You can live a healthier lifestyle, and it doesn't take a ton of money, or it takes some time and some effort, but we put time and effort into everything that we do, and we should do the same for our bodies.
Right. And amen to that. Very wise words. And like I said, I've been doing research and reading and all these other things, and yes, what I've really come to is set realistic goals. Understand, you've got to take in calories to burn calories, to make muscle mass or have a physique or whatever it is that you're looking at doing. So yeah, having a cheeseburger is not going to be the end of the world. Having a slice of cake, having some ice cream, I think one of the things that really bothers me is when women all go out with anybody and will be like, oh, I think I'm going to have a piece of cake. Do you want one? Oh no, it'll go right to my hips. I hate that phrase. Hate that phrase.
Me too. And of course my brain always has to then picture like the piece of cake on the person's like hip or stomach, because it's like, no, that's so false. It's so false.
It is.
You're right, but that's what our society unfortunately has done. And I think like as I'm getting older, as I'm finding a newfound self and a newfound strength, I'm realizing like I love helping women, but to be quite honest, we as women, we're educated enough to understand and to know that we can go out there and get that information for ourselves if we really, really want it. I think that the struggle and the education needs to be started with our younger generations, because we're not told anything when we're younger other than what we're given by our family members or whomever is close to us raising us. And I know for me, the ideals that I were raised on with food, I think the best thing that I can say about me growing up, my dad worked for Entenmann's and Freihofers my whole life, and we were like stocked full with pastries in our house, and that was like a meal, and that was okay. So it's like, it's the culture, it's the education. We are not given this information in our society, so it's my mission to figure out how to be able to give this information to more people. And first, how to translate it in a way that people can understand it in its simplicity, because it seems so complex when it's not.
Right. I think really what it's about balance.
100%, yes.
Having...
And doing what makes you feel good, too.
Right, exactly. I mean, there's a difference between having a slice of pie and having the whole pie.
Exactly, yes.
So I think, I definitely agree. Growing up, the early 2000s were definitely impressionable on me, and seeing these, very, very thin people all over, and, they're fit. They're not necessarily buff, but they're fit, and these magazines, that were aimed at teenagers that are like, oh, how to lose weight now, how to blah, blah, whatever it was. And that definitely left an impression on me and on society as a whole of, oh, we have to watch ourselves and watch our calories and watch what we're doing, but it never explained that there was exercise involved. It was always some diet fad, or, oh, tried this salad today. And looking at it as an adult now, that's so wrong. I mean, so wrong.
Exactly. And also, too, it starts in our grocery stores and what we're offered. Like the majority of foods in your grocery store, I wish I had a statistic on this. I should probably look this up. But the majority is probably going to be deemed unhealthy. The majority is going to be processed in a plant, in a factory, and it's going to be more cost effective. So it's kind of almost like a double-edged sword sometimes. Not only are we not taught about the importance of putting nutrients in our body and how our body actually needs those nutrients to go ahead and complete processes that our bodies are constantly going through every day inside that we don't see or know of. But it's got to be a much deeper conversation. The grocery stores should offer more healthy options than non-healthy options, and that will right there in itself show you that balance is necessary, balance is important. But right now, it's like those tiny little outskirts are where you kind of want to shop because that's the good food, but it's the smallest part of the grocery store, if that makes sense.
Yes.
All the food is in abundance of, including chemicals and things that aren't great for our body.
Right. And I do think we as a society are starting to make a shift towards more kind of whole foods and organic foods, not foods in a can, basically. Not saying.
I think so. Yeah, I think we're trying, but I think it's a deeper problem. I think we as a society, there's a lot of us speaking out against it, a lot of us understanding it, and a lot more education at our fingertips, which is great for like us all everyday people. Like you can go on TikTok, Instagram, or Pinterest, and hopefully in your feed, within a few minutes there'll be something that will show you a healthier way of being, but it's the options and it's the affordability of it.
Right.
And that's the part that we have no control over as the consumer, but yet one of the biggest things that help us to make those decisions is how much is this going to cost? What can I afford this week for my family? So those things do make it difficult. Right.
Oh, definitely. I fully understand that. I've got friends that, want to shop organic or go to the Whole Foods Co-op, but at the end of the day, it's kind of like, well, I've got to go to Walmart or I've got to go to Walgreens to shop because I've got more mouths to feed than just mine. So I think it's kind of about that balance, and it's about finding alternatives to the high-end, things that say organic, and I really do think organic has become a buzzword now, but
yes, which is unfortunate because it's something that's supposed to keep us, let us know that we're eating a better quality. Should it become a buzzword? And I'm glad that you said that because I completely agree with that statement. It is more of a buzzword than anything else.
Right, and it bothers me to no end, but I don't work in corporate America. I am just one little American in the giant pie here, so I can't change anything, but I think the more people that talk about it and the more sway that there is, the more companies have to listen. But thank you, Tiffany, for divulging and kind of taking that track with me. But
Yes, I know. I didn't mean to go down that road. I have so much I could say about that, but I do try to keep a lot of that in because, like you said, there's really nothing that we can do about that at this point.
Right. Well, thank you so much for divulging and allowing me to talk about that as well. It's something that I kind of feel passionate about, especially now that I'm older. And like you had mentioned before, there's all this information at our fingertips and all these things that you can look up and realize and work towards, which I think is absolutely amazing. I mean, things that we were never taught in school is now available to us. But but to kind of get back to you and Fit Tiff, where are you hoping to go with it? I know you said you're kind of growing your online presence. You've got some ladies that you're working with? Where's your end goal here? What do you hope to do?
Oh gosh, that's a loaded question. So I will say, my current goals are to find my voice. I think if you look at any of my social media platforms, I do a really, really good job posting workout videos every day. And I have a lot of fun doing that, and I love doing that. I have not shared my voice for many reasons over the past few years. My biggest thing is I believe anything that I say, I want it to be true to who I am. I want to be able to always be in a position where I feel personally that I am comfortable enough to answer any questions open and honestly. And I think over the past few years, unfortunately, there have been some things in my world and in my life that I have not been able to that I have not feel comfortable being honest about. I am almost through a process in which I feel once this process is legally done, I will be able to start to speak a little bit more with confidence and show the world a bit more of myself. So for right now, I'm just trying to get as comfortable as I can with showing the world my authentic self in the good, the bad, the ugly, all of that, because I think that it's so important for people to understand that I live in a really small 1,300 square foot townhome. I go to the grocery store twice a week like everybody else. I do laundry every day like everybody else. I try to manage a work cleaning schedule, mom schedule every day. And I think, like, I just want the world to know, like, it's not impossible to build the life that you want to live, to find your joy and your happiness, because I feel like so few times that's actually translated. So that's my first step. And then my second step, as I kind of mentioned before, I think my ultimate goals as of right now, I think, is to try to figure out how to share more information with the younger generations. Teaching things such food being fuel for our body, mindset, that our thoughts become our reality, things like that. I was a child that was invisible. I literally felt invisible. I had no self-worth, no self-value, and I struggled with an eating disorder for basically my entire life. Now that I'm on the other side of it, it's just my mission to literally help, touch, and reach as many people as I possibly can. I live this in the world I live in right now in my life is a wonderful place, and the world that I used to live in was a terrible place. And I don't think that anybody should have to live in a terrible place inside of their body and their minds. And I want anything, if I can help one person in the smallest little way, like, that's my goal, that's my mission. I don't have to see the benefit, I don't have to see it in front of my face every day. I don't need to be rewarded with compliments and all that. I just want to know that I'm putting out there good information that hopefully will help somebody.
Amen, Tiffany. Amen to that.
Like, we gotta be lifting each other up. It's like, I had a friend say something to me the other day. She's always like, you ask everybody everything, and you, like, our boys are really good friends, and you ask people things. If you have a question, you ask. What's the worst somebody can say? But you just gotta put yourself out there. You gotta feel comfortable with being you and do you, because you're leaving behind a story, and you don't want that story to not reflect who you really are inside.
Right. And I think also today we are all leaving behind stories and things like that. And I'm not just talking about being on social media and putting ourselves out there for the world to see, but I think throughout time people have always left stories behind, and I love your story. That's extremely captivating and amazing to hear, and definitely we need, as a society and as women too, we need to lift each other up and not tear each other down. I mean, and that's a change that I've seen in my lifetime. Back in the 90s and early 2000s, it was, oh, that bitch, blah blah blah, and now the narrative has changed into, you know what, you look good in that dress.
Exactly. That dress is awesome. Where did you get it? Your hair is great. Who's your stylist? And that's the way it should be. It should be peer to peer. We should be learning from one another, not from a commercial that a group of people worked on to put out to try to hit us in the way of psychology. Like, the people around us are more valuable than we could ever give mention or notice to half the time.
Yes, correct. Amen. Amen, Tiffany. Amen. And then, Tiffany, before we close out, something, I guess, a little bit more personal that I want to ask, something that I've kind of struggled with in my own fitness journey. And hopefully this will reach out to a couple other people. I had mentioned it in the beginning of the podcast. You know, we're in the superhero phase. Or maybe we're not. I don't know. I haven't been paying attention lately. But you see all these extremely fit people. And I'm not talking about fit. I'm talking swole and yolk and just, muscles that are the size of my head. And, on one side, you have to look at that, okay, they've got trainers, they work out 8 hours a day, they're taking in hundreds, if not thousands of calories to get this physique and this look. And then the day of shooting, they're told not to eat anything for 24 hours, so their skin is basically stuck to their muscles. So that's the definition behind it. But I think something that I've kind of looked at and that I don't necessarily see in my own life is the definition behind it, that muscle definition that just seems to stay there. And it's not true. Muscles don't do that. Muscles don't stay flexed 24/7, but it's something that I've kind of struggled with in my own mind's world, that muscle definition isn't a 24/7 thing. So I guess what kind of advice or thought process do you have on that?
No, that's a great question, and I feel like there are so many of us that border on like the body dysmorphia line. I think it's like a generational thing almost, kind of like you hit on it with the magazines when early 2000s, late 90s, those teen magazines coming out saying this, that, and the other. I think that kind of like hit home. But, with the muscle definition, I think that's something that, especially in the beginning of my journey, I feel like I don't any longer. But I would struggle with that as well. It was like you would just stand there in a T-shirt and be like, oh, you can't even see anything. You got to sit there and flex and do that. But, it should not be... We should be, I think that we should look in the mirror, and when we look in the mirror, we should be proud of ourselves, whether it be our bodies, knowing, the help that we may have given to somebody, or knowing the person that we set out to be, or whatever it is. We should be able to look in the mirror and be proud of ourselves. And that shouldn't be based off of this muscle looking good or that muscle looking good. However, that does help to keep you going in the process, is when you see those results. So I believe that at all times, as humans, knowing that we don't have all of that time or the chemicals and substances and the supplementation that some of these athletes do to put into it. And that's, I think, the biggest things to remember is like the people that I think that you're talking about primarily, they're athletes. Those are their jobs. They condition... Their job is to wake up and figure out how to grow their muscles and eat to optimize their body and their muscle growth, gain, and all of that, because they're about to step on stage at some point to try to win based on that. So I think that the best thing that I can say is just keep in mind, just as I say, I'm not going to a show. I'm not competing. It doesn't matter really how the muscle looks. It matters how I feel about it. Did I put all of my effort into my workout? Do I feel confident about that? Do I feel good about that? Did I show up for the workouts that I promised myself that I would show up for? I think that stuff builds so much more self-confidence than actually seeing, that extra vein in the mirror. And I think that hopefully in time, the mindset will really shift and we'll really understand that, some of these fitness influencers, this is their job. They're bodybuilding athletes. And it's just like if somebody was a track star or a softball player, they're going to have different skills, different abilities, and a different look to them than somebody that's not going to.
Correct. Wise words, Tiffany. Thank you so much for letting me ask that. It's been kind of in the back of my mind a bit, ever since Thor Love and Thunder came out, and you're looking at Natalie Portman, and she's got, crazy insane arm muscles, and it's like, oh, I want that.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too. You can have that. I mean, not on that scale, and that's the thing. Just like, you look at somebody's pretty brown hair. Well, you can have that brown hair. It may not be exactly, but it'll be your pretty brown hair, if that makes sense. And that's what it's understanding, that we all will look a little bit different, but if you want to get there, you can get there.
Right. Tiffany, I love the amalgamation that you have between the mind and the body. It's absolutely amazing, because these things really do go in tandem.
Absolutely.
You have to look at yourself in order to kind of move yourself forward or be satisfied with the work that you're doing on your body. That's absolutely amazing. I love that you're also about, lifting others up, because in lifting others up, you also lift yourself up in a way as well. And that's absolutely amazing. You are the complete package of fitness, my dear.
Oh my God, you are the best, Crystalline. Thank you. I do. I just want to be helpful, honestly. Like I said, I just want to leave that big footprint behind, and be able to touch and help as many people as possible.
Of course. And I definitely see you doing that. I see you doing it now. You've definitely left an impression on me as well. Thank you so much for taking time out of your insane schedule to talk with me and the wider world about fitness and mental health and all of the above. Tiffany, if somebody's interested in reaching out to you, either to get some of your workouts, to ask you a question personally, how can they do that?
Yeah, so I think the easiest way for people to get a hold of me is just to visit my website. It's fittiff.com, and there is a space there that you can just directly email me. I do answer all emails. There are some weeks it takes a little bit longer, but I will always get back to you, and I will always answer any questions that somebody has, as long as it's in my skill set and within my abilities. But if I don't have the answer, usually what I do is I try to kind of make it a mission that together we can figure it out, because if I don't know it now, I want to learn it. So, but please, to anybody that has any kind of questions, needs a little inspiration, needs a little motivation, no matter how silly you may think or how little or big the question is, shoot it over to me. What's the worst that can happen? So I'm there to help. I'm here to help. I'm going to always help. Please ask if you have any questions. And, I hope, like I said, just want to be of help.
Wonderful. Tiffany, thank you so much again. This is Fit Tiff. You can find her on YouTube, Pinterest, and all the social media platforms. Your workouts are absolutely amazing. I've done a number of them and incorporated a number of them into my own life. And yes, I definitely feel better after I'm done with my workouts. So thank you so much again, and I look forward to talking with you and speaking with you later.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for inviting me on. It was a pleasure to be here, and I hope you have a great day.
Yes, you too. Bye.